Paul, how do you feel about a Ron Paul running as a third-party candidate? By the way, when they were passing the rules changes, I was on the convention floor when this vote was taken, and a vote to change the rules of the convention, which gives enormous power to the nominee, which, of course, Mitt Romney thinks it's going to be him in 2016, and it was a voice vote. All in favor say aye, all opposed say no. And I believe I was there, and I thought the no's were louder than the ayes. I thought those rules got voted down, but Speaker John Boehner declared that the motion had passed on that voice vote, immediately got some serious boos from the crowd, and it turns out somebody had their cell phone taken video of the teleprompter at the back of the arena, and the vote was already in there. John Boehner was told by the teleprompter to say the ayes have it. It was already written on the teleprompter. Now, somebody had to put that in there way before the vote was even taken. I mean, I don't know how far ahead of time they load that teleprompter, but they had already determined that no matter what the delegate said, the ayes were going to carry that. The ayes had it. That was on the teleprompter. John Boehner was instructed to read just like Barack Obama. He says whatever the teleprompter tells him to. John Boehner was told to say whatever the teleprompter told him to, and he said the ayes have it. So that was, I think that upset a lot of people. That ticked me off because that's not how you do things in a representative form of government. Now, one of the problems that the Democrats have, and I'll talk about this in the second hour, Bill Clinton going to speak there. Now, here's the New Yorker was talking about the relationship between Clinton and Obama, which is pretty frosty. And the guy that wrote the New Yorker, I mean, this is a premier journalistic publication if you're on the left. I mean, this is like the Bible to the left. You can't get any higher on the pecking order in the pyramid than the New Yorker. And here's an excerpt from the New Yorker article. Tim Russert told me, the writer says, that according to his sources, Bill Clinton, in an effort to secure an endorsement for Hillary from Ted Kennedy, said to Kennedy a few years ago, this guy would have been carrying our bags. Now, here is Ryan Lizza. This is clip 11. Here's Ryan Lizza. He's the guy that wrote this for the New Yorker. And so naturally, the guy carrying, he's like a porter at a hotel. This is the black guy that's got the bellhop and the little cap and takes the bags out of your trunk and carries them to your room. Basically, it's a way of saying a few years ago, Barack Obama would have been a bellboy for us. So, I mean, it's stereotypical, it's racist. And here is Ryan Lizza, the guy that wrote this, reported this in the New Yorker, which is a left-wing publication. This is not somebody on the right ratting out Bill Clinton for calling Obama a bellboy. This is the New Yorker. And here's what Ryan Lizza had to say when he was asked about it.
President Clinton said, a couple of years ago, he'd be carrying our bags.
Yeah.
And some people said, well, that's just a comment about the age of President Obama and lack of experience. Others said that's a racial comment.
I don't think it's racial. I don't think Bill Clinton has a racist bone in his body. But in that campaign in South Carolina, the Obama campaign did put out some things that the Clintons believed was trying to make him seem racist.
So Bill Clinton doesn't have a racist bone in his body. Nothing racist about saying 4 years ago or whenever Barack Obama would have been a bellhop at the hotels we stay at. Well, let's go to the phones. Let's go to, is that Frank in Tyler, Texas? Let's go to Frank,
hello.
Tyler, Texas. What's on your mind?
I'm a Ron Paul supporter.
So how do you feel about him running as a third-party candidate?
I think it's fantastic. He's got a second chance.
Now, what do you think, Frank?
He's got a second chance now to win people over to the Constitution because he is a true constitutionalist.
Now, let me ask you this, Frank.
The Republican Party has rejected the Constitution and our individual liberties, and the Democratic Party is just flat out going to destroy our Constitution. Okay, that's what they do as Marxists.
Now, let me ask you this, Frank. As a Ron Paul supporter, it's kind of a two-sided question. Number one, do you? I mean, my sense, Frank, is that if Ron Paul comes out and runs third party, I mean, it's going to light a fire in his supporters. I mean, you're going to see a blast of enthusiasm. So do you agree with that? And then number two, how much of a letdown is there going to be if he goes on Jay Leno tonight and says, I'm not running third party, I'm here to endorse Gary Johnson? What's the reaction of the Ron Paul folks going to be?
Well, they realize, anyways, they're pretty much realists. They realize that the Republican Party and the American people have rejected the Constitution because Ron Paul is a strict constitutionalist. Okay, the Republican Party is no friend of the Constitution.
But my question is, Frank, the question is, how are the Ron Paul folks going to react if all he does is endorse Gary Johnson? How much of a letdown is that going to be?
Well, if he endorses Gary Johnson as a libertarian, there's still going to be hope. You
all
see?
right.
Because you got to realize the people who believe in the Constitution, they still have hope that the American people will not totally reject the Constitution, okay? They're going to eventually wake up to it.
One last question, Frank. Let me ask you one last question. Do you think that Ron Paul, if he ran third party, would take more votes away from Mitt Romney or Barack Obama?
Mitt Romney.
Okay, and why is that?
Well, I think so. I think they're going to do it because a lot of the libertarians are actually more conservative, okay?
All right.
And
so you think it would hurt Mitt Romney more than it would hurt Barack Obama? All right, yeah. Frank, listen, I appreciate the call. Thank you for that. Want to grab some other calls and get them in here. Let's go to Vaughn in Jackson, Tennessee. Vaughn, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What do you think about a Ron Paul third-party run?
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You bet.
I hate to insult the sensibilities of the previous caller, but being a third-party candidate in this election is the most selfish, irresponsible thing an American could possibly do.
Now, why do you think that?
Because, okay, what ticket did Ross Perot run on?
Yeah, the Reform Party.
The Reform Party.
But I'm curious, Vaughn, as to why, because this is America. Anybody ought to be able to run for president if they want to. So why would you say it's any more selfish for Ron Paul to run as a third party than for Mitt Romney to run as Republican and Barack Obama as a Democrat?
Let us say, Ryan, I'm stuck on Ross Perot. That Ron Paul actually wins. Let's say he actually wins. It would be the most incredible thing ever in American politics. But let's say he wins. Do you think he's going to be able to get anything accomplished? Yeah.
I think from a practical standpoint, Vaughn, I doubt that there's anybody in America outside of the most rabid Ron Paul supporters that think that he could actually win this thing. But he could materially affect the outcome if it's a close election. He could take enough votes away from Mitt Romney, and I think I agree with the previous caller. That's where the votes would probably come from.
Amen.
And hand the election to Barack Obama. And so is that the kind of scenario where you're thinking that he might be putting his own interest ahead of the interest of the country if he does something that gives Barack Obama a better chance to be reelected?
Yes, of course. A vote for Ron Paul is a vote for Barack Obama. I like Ron Paul, although he's got the foreign policy of a 12-year-old. I personally like Ron Paul, but he just doesn't have a chance.
All right, Vaughn. Well, listen, I appreciate the call. Thank you for that. And I frankly got a problem with the fact that he ran in the Republican primary, didn't win, and now he's going to jump he's going to change horses in midstream. I just have kind of an ethical problem with that. Well, let's go to Jamie in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Jamie, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What do you think about a Ron Paul third-party run?
I think that anybody that votes for Ron Paul in the presidential election, their vote would be absolutely moronic because that would absolutely ensure Barack Obama being the president next time around.
So your guess, so your prediction is if he ran third party, he would take the bulk of his votes from Mitt Romney.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that it would take a lot of votes.
All right, okay, Jamie.
And it would just be a deal for another horrible 4 years.
All right. Okay, thanks for that. Let's go to Josh in Jackson, Mississippi. Josh, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What do you think about a Ron Paul run?
Well, I kind of disagree. There's a little Facebook meme that's out there that says if everybody who liked Ron Paul voted for him, he would win. It's a little bit different take. I think, however, that him running as a third party could go either way. If he were to find some way to run as a presidential candidate, anybody who supported Ron Paul would be right there beside him. But then if he endorsed the Libertarian candidate, I think the fire from the Ron Paul supporters would be just as happy to go towards another constitutionalist.
Well, I'm wondering about that, Josh, because I just don't see any enthusiasm anywhere for Gary Johnson. People don't know who he is. And I don't the Ron Paul folks, to me, seem to be enthused about Ron Paul. And if he tells them to get enthused about somebody else, I'm not sure I see that happening.
Well, if let's say if you have everyone who's running, who's gunning for Ron Paul because of his constitutionalism, then they're supporting of the Constitution, not Ron Paul per se.
So you think it actually might work? All right. Well, we'll may have a chance to see what happens. Let's go to Marge, Tampa, Florida. Last call of the hour. Marge, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What do you think about a Ron Paul run?
Well, I kind of got to vote my conscience, and it's really hard to vote your conscience when you have a president that is a communist, socialist, supporter, is Islamic supporter, and then you have a Mormon bishop who could possibly lead millions of souls to where if he gets elected president. So I'm thinking, and then this other guy has a campaign, so just do a write-in ballot for Jesus, because neither one, you got a two-sided coin. So, and I know Ron Paul, and I feel like it is unfair that the media didn't give him as much attention as he should.
So let me ask you this, Marge: if Ron Paul does run third party, sounds like you will vote for him. If he doesn't run third party, what will you do?
Well, actually, I don't know who. I don't know. I really don't know, because I feel like I would be sinning either way.
Yeah, well, I understand. Okay, Marge, I appreciate it. And I have appreciation. I've said it repeatedly. I'll say it again. I think a third-party vote is a thrown-away vote. It's basically a vote for Barack Obama. But I understand people that have conscience problems about that and cannot vote for either one of these two candidates by conscience. I appreciate that. I understand that. Wouldn't want to talk anybody out of it. Back after the news, Focal Point, AFR Talks.